This week, we're going to talk about connecting with living ancestors and why living cousins and why that might be an important thing for you to do. And one of the things I wanted to mention at the very beginning is when you go into your DNA on Ancestry, for instance, you'll see a little arrow if you have other tests that you are also managing. So in this situation, I also help manage my husband's and my daughter's. They, of course, still manage theirs too. But if I want to see some things on my husband's side or see some things, that my daughter, obviously having both of our sides, it can be helpful. So just wanted to mention that little drop down arrow when you go on DNA. And this is just the summary page showing you a few things about some of your matches and through lines that can be kind of fun. But we'll just kind of go through a little bit of first off why we'd want to connect to these living cousins. And one of the reasons that I've found is most helpful is that it helps to validate and expand trees. The fact that I'm talking to living people, sometimes they can help connect me to, their parent and their grandparent, which then connects into my tree. So I can help expand the trees and helps me discover unknown relatives that I didn't know before. And then it can also help me access more photos and stories. And I'll show you an example of that here in a minute. And then it's just also kind of a fun thing I found to just find cousins all over the world and things like that. And so we'll just kind of get started and show you just a couple of ideas. There's obviously lots of things you can do here. Let's just say you've clicked on DNA and you go to matches. And if you go to matches, there's several things that you can do looking at things by your parent. After you set it as maternal or paternal, once you determine which side's which with your DNA connections, you can look at it that way. Or you can just look at it by ancestor, which would be can be kind of fun too. Like, you're planning a reunion or you just want to, say, hey, who knows about this side of the family? So I'll just kind of click on that so you can see some examples really quick. Let's just say I want to find out more about my great grandpa John. I can see that there's three DNA matches that are already connected to him, and maybe not even because of anything I've done. They've just already found in my tree that we're connected. So that can be kind of a fun little thing. So there's those different things. But then also on here, on the main page, there's this little thing called filter right here. And if I click on this filter, this is one of my favorite features. I use this a lot whenever I'm coming on here. One of the things I like to do right off the bat is I'll just click on new. And then I can just see all the new people that have just recently taken a DNA test and we're connected and we're related. And I think it's fun to send them a message and just say, hi, hey, I see we're cousins, or something like that. And sometimes I can find out a little information, they're kind of excited. They just got their test, different things like that. So that can be kind of a fun little filter. And another one is unviewed matches. This can be just people that I just haven't even looked at yet. So again, they're new or they're not new, just I haven't looked at them. One of my favorite ones is if you're just starting with this DNA on Ancestry or other places, clicking on this common ancestor is really fun. And you just click apply the filters. And on these, you can see that we have common ancestors. So for instance, on Lisa, this first one, I can see that we are related through Jonathan Randolph and Mary Davis. So it's kind of fun. And we'll go through an example of that here in just a minute. Just wanted to kind of show you some of these fun little filters. Another one or another thing that can be fun is if you look at trees, you can just look at people that have public trees, meaning that they've got a tree that they've been working on Ancestry, and that can be helpful just to see their tree, like the common ancestor would kind of show you their tree too. And then you can go down here and look at shared DNA. So let's just say you just want to see cousins that are fourth cousin or closer. Just want to look at those really close ones. So I've got like 2,000. I can apply that filter. There's just different ways. Another one is groups. And this has been a really fun one for me. And I've mentioned this before, but I'll try to group all of the cousins that I determine, how we're related into these 8 different great grandparents. So 4 on my dad's side, 4 on my mom's side, my my 8 great grandparents. So they each have a little label. And then I might have some special starred matches or different things like that, or I haven't determined the relationship or something like that. But I just wanted to show one, for instance, so Felberg, and I've mentioned this before, but I had one cousin in this Felberg realm. I just didn't know any other relations on this side of the family. And now we're up to 33. It just makes me really happy. It's just a fun thing. And I've had so many family members that I've found by doing some of this, hey cousin, let's see how we're related or whatever, or checking on this common ancestor or different things like this. So I'm just going to show you one example of what I do. So let's just say I'm hopping on this and one of those days I just want to try something new. And I usually will just try to do this once a week. I'll just hop on here and send a message to a few of these cousins. And so for instance, on this Lisa, I'd click on her name and I would just click on message and I would message her and we'll kind of go through that process here in just a minute I wanted to show you one message to, let's see if I can get it to go, to Sandra George. So I just sent her a message and let me just show you her really quick. So Sandra, it said with Sandra that we have a common ancestor. And when I went on here, I saw, yep, we have these common ancestors, Jonathan Pierce and Amy Cody. And it was really fun. Even before I've sent her a message or anything like that, I can just look at view relationship. And here I see, oh, okay, Jonathan. Yep. So my third great grandpa, she's also related to. That's how we're connected. And then I see these family members that I don't have in my tree. These are the ones that are this grayed out box and they say evaluate. So I can click on each of these people and go through the process and just decide, do I feel like that is, one of Elizabeth's sons and, granddaughter, and I go through and then I connect to Sandra. And anyway, so I'll kind of go through that process and enter them into my family tree if I feel like they're right. And then going back, one of the things that I would do a lot of times is first off, I'd just add her to one of these groups. So now I know she is part of my Eloria Pierce, my great grandma. She's that side of the family. I'll just add that. Okay, now I at least know how Sandra and I are related. And then I might just send her a message. And this is what I think is fun. Even if I don't know how we're related or anything, I'll just send a little message and I'll just say, hi, I see we're related through such and such, or, do you recognize any of these names maybe too? I might just say, hey, I see we're cousins, yada, 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 these kinds of things. So anyway, so as I message, sometimes people respond and sometimes people don't. And that's why I send a few. I just figure that way I'll have, at least 1 or 2 responses, maybe a week or something. Anyway, so then I get this message back from her daughter. And so I find out that Sandra had died and I didn't know that, obviously. And so I'm able to enter this information about her, able to enter the information about her daughter, Margot, which I had no idea. Here she tells me a little bit about their family, where they were from, pictures, different things like that are now coming too. So it's just kind of a fun way to add to your family tree. So I just try to connect, send a little message to a cousin or two in that DNA matches tree, just sending a little message. And then I can go in eventually if I make sure those relationships are right, and I will connect her to my tree. She'll be in there now. Sandra will be actually in my tree. And I've got that many more family members that I know, when it's been 110 years, if I haven't gotten approval, that I could do their temple work for them too. So kind of a special way to connect to more family than you ever thought you could. So hope
Okay,
you
so
enjoy that
Angela,
and feel free to leave comments down below. Thanks so much.